I also had the issue that when my fearful reactive foster has a bad day, I get so overstimulated that I melt down and only make it worse. I feel so bad for not staying neutral. There's a really common trope in especially balance training circles that says your emotional response as a human being, if you are not being completely neutral and stoic, that you are exacerbating your dog's anxiety, exacerbating their behavior concerns, or often the narrative is that has caused the issue. And that's a really inaccurate blanket statement to make. Even just among the individual dog, there's going to be a lot of variety in how responsive they are to us. So you might have a dog who sees their pet parent having an anxiety attack, a meltdown, a seizure, and they're like, that's happening. And you might have other dogs who are like, what are you doing? What's wrong? What's going on? Often, though, what's happening is that the dog is responding to specific things, not just sort of the nebulous idea of you feeling the emotion. So I might have a dog who is paying really close attention to my movements, and when my movements become erratic, that's scary for them. Or a dog who is scared of the noises that I'm making or the way that I'm walking. And when we notice that to be the case, it becomes a lot more of a tangible problem than saying if I feel human emotion, if I'm anything other than neutral and stoic, my dog's anxiety is going to be worse. I think it's a lot more empowering to focus on what aspects we can pin down and then affect. So for example, I might be able to proactively set up the environment. So if I notice that we're finishing up a walk or a car ride, something has gone horribly awry, I am having a bad time, my dog's overstimulated, I'm overstimulated, can I have a predetermined plan in place for what to do? Because in those moments, it's impossible to think clearly. And so it can be helpful to have a plan beforehand, say to grab a pre-prepped enrichment item and separate yourself and your dog, or to engage in a co-regulating behavior together, maybe a pattern game or some deep breaths. Sometimes it involves community support, social support, familial support. Can we tap someone else in to take over so that we can tap out for a minute? Can we work on the dog's resilience to stress so that those scary events aren't as detrimental as they might be currently? Can we work on teaching the dog in a very general way to move away from things that stress them out and engage in self-regulating behaviors so that they can apply that in those situations? Can we change our behavior? Meltdowns certainly are not something that can be controlled once they're happening. Sometimes we can be mindful to take care of trigger stacking for ourselves. We can certainly take care of ourselves through our own management and enrichment to try to prevent us from getting to that point in the first place. But that's possible to varying degrees. But maybe it is a behavior we can change, like maybe we're not talking about a meltdown or a seizure, maybe we're talking about the tensing up on leash when we see another dog. And maybe that's something that we can learn to instead take a deep breath and roll out our shoulders. Maybe it's something that we have very, very little control over. Maybe someone else in the house is having a meltdown. There's no one else to tap in and you don't have a lot of control or any control over when it happens. Or maybe it's not even about being overwhelmed. Maybe there is just, say, someone in the house who walks differently than the dog is used to people walking, and that sort of thing is scary. We can take a more direct desensitization and counter conditioning approach. But all of that is significantly more empowering than the idea that we should just try to suppress the human experience. It doesn't serve anyone for pet professionals to teach pet parents that they need to be stoic and neutral and unemotional, especially in states of being that are going to be challenging. Behavior cases are challenging. Trying to meet the needs of a dog who is easily overwhelmed or overstimulated or living with chronic stress is emotional.